I studied 100 channels, all making over $100,000 a year from YouTube, and they all have one clear thing that sets them apart from everyone else. It's not better thumbnails, it's not posting more, it's definitely not going viral. So today I'll break down what this thing actually is and how you can use it to build a YouTube channel that makes you real money without chasing viral videos. So if you're trying to build a business on YouTube, I'm sure you've been told the same things over and over again. Post consistently, optimize your thumbnails, study the algorithm, and chase what's trending. And maybe you've done all that. You're posting every week. But here's the big problem. You're competing with thousands of other creators who are all doing the exact same thing. So your videos maybe get a few hundred views if you're lucky, but then nothing happens. You don't make any sales, it's just silence. And what makes this even more frustrating is you see other channels that don't seem to be any better than yours, and their channel is blowing up and they're making sales and they're building an actual business. Well, you're stuck chasing views that don't go anywhere. So the advice that you've been following isn't wrong, it's just incomplete. Because here's what I've learned from studying these successful channels. Every successful YouTube channel, the ones who are making real money from YouTube, they all have something that you don't. So let me show you what it is. So for the last 12 months, I've been building YouTube channels for my clients. So we write the scripts, we edit the videos, and we analyze why some channels grow and convert viewers into customers and why others don't. And I kept studying the successful channels over and over again, the ones that are making over $100,000 a year from YouTube. I could see why they were different, I just couldn't see exactly how. Then about 6 months ago, I was analysing a specific client's YouTube channel. So they run a whiskey business and their videos just weren't getting anywhere. They looked like they were doing everything right, they had great content, thumbnails, and they were posting consistently, but nothing was happening. And we were all pulling our hair out trying to work out what it was. Well, Kev wasn't. So I went back and I analysed all these high-performing channels that I'd been studying, and I took all of their videos and their transcripts and I ran them through AI to get a detailed breakdown of what they're doing differently. And that's when I finally saw it. Every single one of them has a clear enemy, something that they actively stand against. I remember reading the book ClickFunnels by Russell Brunson. He's the guy who taught people like Alex Hormozi. And he talks about this consistently. He calls it throwing rocks at your enemy. That one insight changed everything for me. So we made a video that threw rocks at these whiskey snobs, and that first video took off, and as a result it blew up their channel. And now they make sales from every video they post because they've found their audience. And that's when I knew I was onto something. So the channels that are making real money from YouTube, they all have a very clear enemy that they position themselves against. So let me show you what I mean, and more importantly, how you can find your enemy and use it in your content to grow your channel and your business. So what does it mean to have an enemy? Let's look at some examples. So Ali Abdaal is against hustle culture, the sleep when you're dead mentality, and wearing burnout as a badge of honor. He's all about sustainable success and finding work that energizes you instead of draining you. And Dan Cole is against working 12 hours a day. He believes that 4 focused hours beats 12 hours of scattered work. Cody Sanchez is against startup culture. She's all about boring businesses like vending machine companies and car washes instead of chasing the next big thing. Graham Stephan is against wasteful spending, so just buying things to look rich instead of building real wealth. And Greg Hickman is against scaling a massive agency. He's all about how to productize your service so that you earn more money by working less. So all of these examples are positioning themselves against an enemy. And when you have a clear enemy, you start to build up an audience who share your beliefs. Russell Brunson says, people will do anything for those who help them throw rocks at their enemies. So these people become your raving fans, they become your tribe, the people who will follow you and pay for your advice. And you begin to repel the people who don't. And that's exactly what you want. Because if you try to appeal to everybody in your content, you'll end up appealing to nobody. So you need to take a stance and actually share what you're for and what you're against. So how do you find your enemy? Let me show you exactly how we did it with the whiskey channel that I told you about earlier. So I asked them, what frustrates you most about your industry? And the first thing they said was, people waste money on expensive whiskies because of the brand name when there are better, cheaper alternatives that nobody talks about. And that's it. That was our enemy right there. It wasn't bad whiskey advice. It was a specific belief that expensive whiskey equals better. So when we made that video that positioned them against that belief, it actually blew up because suddenly they weren't just another whiskey channel. They were the channel for people who also believe that expensive whiskey doesn't mean it's necessarily better. So what advice in your space do you fundamentally disagree with? So for me, it's hustle culture. The belief that to be successful in business, you need to grind 12 hours a day. I would watch other service providers burn themselves out following that advice, getting nowhere, and I was one of them. So that became my enemy. I learned that through YouTube, you can build an audience and a business that gives you your time back and actually gives you more freedom. And that's what I talk about in my videos. So what pattern do you see your customers stuck in that keeps them trapped? Your enemy is sitting right in front of you. It's the thing that frustrates you most about your industry. The advice that everybody gives that you don't agree with. You know there's a better way. And just remember, you can't be vague here, like, I'm against bad business advice, because nobody will care. Everybody's against bad business advice. So it needs to be something like, I'm against sacrificing family time to build a business, or I'm against building a massive team to scale my agency, or I'm against cold outreach and interruption marketing. Now you have your positioning. Be specific and name the actual thing, because when you're specific, the right people will immediately know, oh, this person gets it. Now, if you're struggling with this, I've created something to help you. It's called the YouTube Positioning Blueprint, and it's completely free. I'll walk you through a series of questions, and by the end, you'll have your exact positioning, including what you're against, who you're serving, and what makes you different on YouTube. So the link is in the description. So make sure you check that out, work through it, and you'll have your enemy clearly defined. So once you know who your enemy is, here's how you actually use it in your videos. So let's look at some quick examples. Ali Abdel tells a story about what it was like working 12-hour days as a doctor. He was always tired and overworked. And then he shows how he pivoted towards building his business through YouTube. And he talks about his feel-good productivity philosophy. Dan Cole talks about grinding 80 hours a week in his early 20s and getting nowhere and feeling stuck. And then he shares how he built a multi-million-dollar business working just 4 hours a day. Cody Sanchez talks about how she used to work in finance and she would chase the next big startup. It was very high stress and high risk. And then she brought her first laundry business and she saw the power of boring businesses that actually generate cash flow. So can you see the framework here? They're all telling stories that say, here's what everybody thinks you should do, but here's the big problem with that, and here's what I believe is a better approach. So if you're still thinking, I can't think of anything that I'm against, well, just ask yourself, what advice do you see customers follow that keeps them trapped? What do you wish somebody had told you 5 years ago? What makes you frustrated when you see other creators teaching it? That's your enemy. It's already there. Every industry has advice that doesn't work anymore and false beliefs. So make a list of everything that's frustrated you and you'll find your enemy. And if you still need help with it, then check out the YouTube Positioning Blueprint link below, and that'll just make it much easier. Now, having an enemy is just the first step. The next question is, what kind of business are you actually building? For me personally, I made the decision to build a 4-hour workday using YouTube instead of grinding myself into the ground. So watch this video next where I break down exactly what I'm building on YouTube, the real numbers after 6 months, what's working, what's not, and why I believe YouTube is the best vehicle for building a business that gives you real freedom. So I'll see you there.